this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Engel?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Heather?
Here.
Mr. Harlow?
Here.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Chris has the flag on his lapel. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have all received a copy of the meeting minutes from October 24th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, Chris, we call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. Michael, do we have a legislative update?
Yes, we do. It's the lame duck session of the legislature. Things can get unpredictable, but rather than try to guess at things, I will just look at the bills most likely to pass based on the fact that they've cleared one chamber already. So some other bills which are stalled can be added to one of these bills that's moving. Bills which are moving are sometimes called Christmas trees because of the various items that can be attached to them. So what I'd like to discuss is the Senate Education Committee took up House Bill 383, which would require a half unit of financial literacy in the high school curriculum, most likely to be added to social studies. But and then there's also House Bill 410 is moving. That's the truancy bill that I think we're actually a little bit ahead of the state on in terms of some of the practices that we've implemented would prevent districts from expelling or suspending students solely for being truant, which a lot of people's beliefs is kind of defeats the purpose. But anyway, this bill would provide for procedures to really get at the root cause of the truancy, and we've done some great work on that. We're ahead of many districts throughout the state. There's also House Bill 438 would designate the week prior to Thanksgiving as Ohio Public Education Appreciation Week. And the House took up a few of the Senate bills as well. So there's Senate Bill 168 that would require the Education Management Information System, EMIS, to include information about the victim of a student's violent actions when there's disciplinary reports put in. And the House Finance Committee also, they met twice last week, and they have two hearings on a bill called Senate Bill 235. This would probably, this might impact some districts a little bit, especially with new construction, because it would exempt industrial commercial property from being taxed at its as commercial development until it's completed. Right now, it can start earlier, so that may set back revenue collection on the improved property for a little bit. Also, I am starting to hear concerns about the upcoming state biennial budget. Revenues for the state have not hit the targets of the current fiscal year. They haven't missed by much, but it does set a lower baseline for the next budget's forecast, and also might encourage the bean counters to be less optimistic about revenue growth. No one is panicking about the upcoming budget so far. So that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Jim, do you have a Butler Tech update?
I wanted to thank Abby for giving us a tour here, this amazing building, and this is really, really cool, and I think it just kind of gives our board, an idea of what is out there, at Butler Tech in the different places, and, maybe next year we can do one at a different location, as I think, brings awareness, to Butler Tech, and since we do our board meetings, on on the TV, I think bring a little more focus, on the things we can offer. So, yeah.
And I think, do we still have the most students from our district attending here?
We've got, I have to ask Abby, I don't know what it's pretty close. I mean, we've got a lot of
We
kids
booked a second? Okay.
that come out here, so it's great.
We have a lot of students taking advantage of these programs.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Butler Technology update?
No, that's what we just have. Principal's report?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to our principal report. Kevin Gale is here from Montford Heights Elementary.
by Caitlin Randall, our assistant principal, and Holly Clifford, one of our PTA presidents. So, see that all right?
Just click on, yeah, all right. See how it popped up? It's over there on the right. There you go.
There we go. So Holly's going to start us off and talk about the great things that our PTA does to support students and staff at Monmouth Heights.
Well, it's really easy to support Monmouth Heights. We have a fantastic principal and assistant principal. They, Mr. Gale's new, or they're both actually new to our school. I've been involved, my oldest daughter's an 8th grader at White Oak. So I plugged into PTA when she was a kindergartner. So I've been involved for over 9 years, been president for 2 years, but vice president in multiple jobs over the years. So I've gotten an inside look as to how Monmouth Heights operates, and have gotten to know the staff and teachers really well. And we have an amazing group of people. Mr. Gale and Mrs. Randall have done a lot for the PTA too. We, for the first year this year, did a big walkathon. Instead of selling over, 20-something years, we've always sold wrapping paper and all those things. So we decided to do something different. And we had a great response, and they took over 120, almost 130 bottles of silly string in the face, and have offered up multiple ways to encourage our students to participate. But the student support, some of the things that our PTA, and we're really fortunate. We have over 20 people that are actually on our board, and numerous people that volunteer on weekly, monthly, different events that we do. But what we do for the students is some of the money that we raise goes towards assemblies. We do student recognition, different awards. They do quarterly rewards where we bring in food or drinks or movies or different kinds of things for kids that earn that. There's Magnificent Musketeers, 5th grade recognition, room parents. We have so many room parents that there's been discussions like how do we work when we have more than 5 or 6 or some. The list goes on for some of the different rooms. We also have reflections, which I'm sure many are familiar with. We have volunteers all over the school helping out with reading, library, cafe, different events. We're really blessed there. We really have had a great turnout for the different things that we have tried to do at our school. Family involvement is something that we feel is really important to get parents involved. A lot of parents work, so they aren't available during the days, and this is a way for them to plug into the schools. We offer, throughout the year, we have different events. We recently did a Reading as a Superpower, which worked with our Title I reading specialist and organized a night where kids got to do lots of different activities. We last year put on a growth mindset that Mr. Gale initiated, and we had over 100, how many parents?
It's almost 150.
150 parents attend, which was fantastic. And while they were attending, we, as a PTA, did a movie and popcorn, all the things for the kids, so they didn't have to worry about childcare. Each year we're trying. Last year we tried some new things. This year we're going to do a very important person dance. We are doing a red carpet Santa night, holiday night for the kids. We have skating parties. Like I said, we're trying to mix up and do different things every year to engage different people. We also have a big dance program. I don't know if you've seen that on there. We also have that actually supports over 200. We have over 200 kids involved in our PTA dance program. And that does come in from other schools in our district that haven't been able to support a dance program. So we have over 8 schools that participate in our dance program. Staff support, fortunately, with the money we've raised through our successful, we really, at our school, have only had to do 1 fundraiser a year. And 2 fundraisers, I'm sorry. We have our beginning of the year fundraiser, and last year, usually we have a carnival. Last year we decided to try something different. We did Strickers Grove, and it was extremely successful. We brought in over $10,000 for Strickers Grove. So it's really enabled us to limit our fundraisers. We're not hitting up our parents every other month for something new. We do these 2, and it raises plenty of money to purchase classroom supplies. We were able to provide our teachers, usually every year we give them $100 to work with. This year we're able to double that. with the money that we've been able to raise. We cater conference night dinners. We have a big back to school event that we do every year. We support the open houses and different events that the school puts on, such as Grandparents' Day, and we are there to support those efforts. And like I said, those are our fundraising projects last year, and we were really thrilled with the walkathon this year. And it involved service projects. I know there's some changes with the way the tax thing is working with the state, but teachers have done service project coins and things like that to raise money for different charities through our student council program.
And the next slide has a few of the pictures.
There's the silly string.
There's the silly string.
Oh my God.
Didn't realize how bad that stuff smells, but it's got
And it was such a hit. I think we made an incentive where the kids had to reach a certain point to be able to do the silly string. And I think now that they've all seen it, we're going to get even more. I mean, 130 was fantastic and a lot easier to manage than the catalog sales that we've done in the past. So,
Couple
we're
of
at fantastical. The kids, we get great participation in just about everything that we host there.
Holly, what would you say your budget is that you give back to the school from PTA every year?
We are carrying a pretty hefty balance right now, but I think our budget is,
it's around 15 to 20,000.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have donated Chromebooks or purchased Chromebooks for the schools. This isn't the only place you'll see Holly. If you looked at homecoming, she was helping direct cars in the parade, so she works at all levels for us. So.
We actually last year, really fortunate, we worked with one of our business partners, Johnson Investments, and we've been carrying a balance in our PTA budget from year to year, and we were able to utilize some of that budget. They donated $20,000. We kicked in about $18,000 from our budget, and we were able to surface half of our playground with that rubber surfacing because our kids weren't able to use the swings when it rained. They were cut off from half the playground. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the whole thing. That is something that was a goal. We were able to purchase some playground equipment along with that. So we feel like the money is well spent. It was really supported by the families we had to have. In order to, anything that we do financially, we have to have a vote with our entire association, and everybody was very supportive of that and excited. The kids are thrilled. It's fun to see them run around on our playgrounds. We have great schools in our district.
It really, and it's a matter of the parents there, stepping forward like Holly and Tiffany, our other president, and all the other board members stepping forward and getting this done because Caitlin and I couldn't do it by ourselves. So we're certainly fortunate for the volunteers we have, and we appreciate them. So we wanted to start with that and highlight that a little bit.
Last year we took a look at our mission and vision, and our leadership team had a discussion in the spring and reflected on it, and we didn't really feel that it reflected clearly of our district expectations on their vision and mission along with what we were doing as a leadership team at Montford Heights. So we did update our vision and mission in the spring of last year, and it was introduced at the beginning of this year. We had students take the time through different grade levels to write down what their vision is and what their mission would be if they were in charge of creating it for the school. We also had parents and staff members create visions and missions, and then Mr. Gale and I and our leadership team sat down, took keywords out of it, and recreated the vision and mission for our building. We have 3 building goals this year, and our initial goal is looking at our MAP data, which we take 3 times a year, and our goal was to decrease the percentage of the students in the low and low average categories and increase the amount of students we have in the high average categories. So the MAP assessment has a range of 5 tiers. We wanted to move out from the bottom 2 and increase the amount we have in our upper 2 tiers through that assessment. So in order to make that realistic for our teachers, we created what we call a hot list, and that's going to be a working document. If you look at, it's a small graph on this screen, but the first column was our scores from last spring, and we looked at that to see what we wanted to change for this year. Then we took our fall data and we set expectations, which are highlighted in yellow, to make it real for the teachers, and that's how many students they need to move out of categories or how many they need to bring into the new categories. So we could really make it realistic, and our day-to-day teaching, our staff is able to then reflect and know which students we really want to target who are a few points away or who are just so close to getting there. So any extra encouragement we can give those students we try to get to them. So we implement our Musketeer Mastery M&M, which is our intervention enrichment block, to reinforce these skills. And our hot list will be updated multiple times throughout the year. Coming up soon, our winter benchmark for MAP will occur, and then teachers will reflect on which students moved. We'll reset our students to move numbers based on our winter data, and then we'll recreate that hot list to set our goals for the rest of the school year to make sure we achieve that.
And that's kind of what drives it, that Musketeer Mastery time. We call it M&M time. So our Musketeer Mastery time, this is something we implemented this year, 45 to 60 minutes of daily intervention or enrichment for students. And you can see some of the interventions listed there: reading mastery, corrective reading. You probably heard some about these prior to tonight. Math connections, fluency, reteaching, previewing content, targeted instruction based on the MAP goals. That's what our interventions are being provided. Our enrichment, teachers are working on some problem-based learning. We have a school newspaper going. We have some independent small group projects. We have robotics going, literacy circles, and book clubs. So we have a lot of cool things going on there. Got some pictures on the next. I'm having a hard time with the touchscreen. So these are a few things that are going on during M&M time, our Musketeer Mastery time. In that top corner, that's the 3rd grade class. They're working on a turkey hideout. It's a problem-based learning. They read a story, and then they're trying to figure out about learning about camouflage and the adaptations of turkeys, done last week. We have a gardening club. This is some students that are participating in some of the garden club. We have the garden club ladies that come. Down here, that's our robotics team, part of them, working through their Lego robotics. They have a competition coming up in December. And finally here, there was another STEM challenge to design a rake using set materials. So they had to design a garden rake that would work for them. So lots of cool things going on, both intervention and enrichment. Our second goal for Montford Heights is to promote positive, safe, and responsive culture and climate. And so part of that is our district-wide initiative, Restorative Practices, probably one of the best, I will say the best 5 days I spent last summer learning about restorative practices and changing my view of building that responsive culture and climate in the school. Great professional development. Just to kind of give you some data to support what restorative practices has done. It's going along with that idea of doing things with students rather than to students. Last year, for Caitlin and I's first year as an administrative team, we had 37 referrals, office referrals, first quarter alone. This year, 18. So we cut that number in half. Doesn't include bus referrals, but I know our bus drivers and transportation are going to be receiving that training coming up soon. So really some neat things. I've got some stuff on the next slide to show you. Also, a focus of that is that student attendance, hoping that part of that going with hand in hand with having that positive culture and climate is to increase student attendance. Our goal for the year is 96.4%. Last year was 95.9. Currently we're at 96.37. And a lot of those things, we have incentives that the PTA is providing. We provided water bottles at first quarter that said Montford Heights on it. We also, Caitlin and I make personal phone calls. When the student's not there, it's generally not the student's fault. So you ask the student, they're in first grade, second grade, they don't know why they're not at school. It's the parents not getting up or not getting there. So we've made some phone calls along with the diversionary court that's been put in place by the district. So some good things going on to help us get students there so that they can learn. On the next slide, see that worked last time. We have a video of restorative circles, and it's a combination. There's 2 teachers in there. You're going to see Melissa Fetty and LaDonna Stouter. There's the academic circle. It's a math lesson. And then the other one's just a community building one. And teachers also use them for problem solving. So hopefully I can get this.
Do we have a volume on here?
It'd be great if we had volume. If
not, we can improvise the the first one in the classroom, the academic one, they were looking at their class goal from first quarter, and it was looking at adding and subtracting numbers to 20, and then they had the conversation that their next goal and expectation was very similar, but they were adding and subtracting numbers up to 100. And so they were having a conversation, what skills or strategies did we learn initially that are going to help us with the next goal, because it seems overwhelming to jump from numbers 1 through 20 to 1 through 100. So the students sat in their circle and they went around and discussed strategies that they already know from the previous goal that they've all mastered and how they were going to apply those. And Mrs. Fetty wrote them on a whiteboard as they went around talking about them. And then at the end of the lesson, or at the end of the circle, after every student shared, she recapped and said, well, now it doesn't seem as overwhelming to look at this goal and this expectation, although we haven't even tried it yet. It seems much more realistic because we've got a foundation of ideas already that are going to help us through it. And then the other circle with Mrs. Stouter, they discussed someone they're thankful for and something they're looking forward to about Thanksgiving. And it was just a community building within their classroom. It was a cross-categorical unit for grades 3 through 5. And the students went around and reflected on that and were able to share what they were thankful for, things they were looking forward to kind of build the relationships with each other.
And it's a powerful thing to walk through and see the circles, especially the young kindergartners, solving a problem, a problem that they've had, and sharing their feelings about it, building that community and bringing them together. It's really, really good stuff. So come on in anytime and take a look. Our third goal kind of goes along with our first goal with increasing achievement. 85% of teachers be at the skilled or higher level in the area of differentiation. And our data so far this year, we're about halfway through the evaluation cycle. We have 2 teachers at the accomplished level, that's the highest. We have 14 at the skill level, and we have 6 at the developing level in that particular area. And one of the things that we're working on is looking at meeting students' individual needs, using that ongoing assessment and looking at how can we differentiate the content, the process, the products for the learning environment to make sure that all students' needs are met where they are. So we're working on that. We're at 73%. Our goal is to be at 85% by the end of the year. So we're making some progress, doing some professional development and things around that. And so that is kind of in a nutshell. There's our reading as our superpower night. We had a lot of different characters there reading books to students. So, any questions?
So when your teachers aren't at the level that you want them at, how do you bring them up to the level?
Well, sometimes it's a matter of working. The way that our assessment, evaluation model works is more of a coaching model. So whether they're working with Caitlin or myself on, we provide them some ideas. We have a reading and math specialist that we oftentimes connect them with. We have a great curriculum department. We have math, reading, social studies, science people that we brought in to kind of help. Susan Wilby Crawford's been over to our building a number of times to work with our language arts teachers and things like that. So.
And then just starting at the end of this quarter, moving into after Thanksgiving break, we're going to start with our leadership team, and they're going to go out and go in and observe other teachers, and then come back to us with feedback. And we're going to kind of reflect on how effective that was, and then walking into other classrooms and seeing what's going on, and hopefully by the end of the year, encourage some of our other teachers to get into other classrooms during their planned times, do observations, and then come back and reflect on what they saw in the area of differentiation or whatever they may feel they need to grow in, and get feedback from their teachers that they don't typically get to see. So we are just now introducing that with our leadership team, and hopefully going to expand that to the rest of the staff by the end of the year.
Other questions?
I'm just impressed with all the different clubs, because it certainly gives a wide variety of things that the kids can become involved in, with garden club or the Lego, the robotics, and it's just nice to see the participation. And then I know Montfort Heights PTA has always been very strong, and just very thankful to you and all the volunteers, because the extra support the teachers are getting because of all your hard work is amazing.
The Lego program's getting bigger and bigger, isn't it?
It is. It's Shelley Fricke's 4th grade science teacher that kind of heads volunteers for that. PTA again supports, pays the entry fees for that. But she puts a lot of hours, like she's going to meet with the students several times over Thanksgiving break to prepare for the December competition. It's going to be at Cincinnati State. It's a competitive program, so she has to kind of have students apply, and she takes 12 to make a team.
It's about 7 or 8 years old now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Been there for a while.
We
Once a month.
And they are produced for the whole school. The kids enjoy it. They try out for that team. And the skills that they learn are so valuable long term. They're utilizing those skills in presentations in middle school and just being able to present in front of a group and interviewing skills. John Kenny's amazing. His chorus won a competition when my daughter was in 5th grade. They're up again. They're trying to win again. He's hands down just phenomenal.
We've actually had them several years ago at a board meeting, and then they were actually selected, and we saw them present at the Ohio School Board Conference in Columbus. And it was pretty cool to see these elementary kids and their interviewing skills and stuff. And then for everybody else in the state of Ohio to get to see them too. They represented the district very well.
It's a great opportunity.
Any other questions? Thank you
Thanks,
very
guys.
much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, at this time we'll move on to reports for employee organizations. Anything from certificated and licensed employees? Classified? Any reports from school-related organizations? I have not received a request for community comments. So we will move into the financial reports of the treasurer.
All right, the first one is a fiscal item. It's financial reports of the treasurer, October 2016. In accordance with Section 3313.29 of the revised code of the state of Ohio, record needs to be made that the treasurer submitted a financial statement of receipts, expenditures, balances, and investments in the regular funds of the Board of Education for the period of the fiscal year 2017. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the financial reports as listed.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a certificated licensed personnel item. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the personnel retirements and resignations. Are there any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a classified personnel item, classified retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the classified resignations and retirements? Said that backwards. Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a fiscal item, authorizing the advance of tax monies for the Hamilton County, Ohio auditor. Treasurer recommends that the Board of Education approve the fiscal items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Another fiscal item, authorization to file a modified tax budget for the 2017-2018 fiscal year. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the item as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on the modified tax budget? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next fiscal item is approval of new funds. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the new funds as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on approval of new funds. Are there any questions? Chris?
Did it vote? Okay. Then and now certificates over $3,000. Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.41, states in part that no subdivision shall make any contract or give any order involving the expenditure of money unless there is attached thereto a certificate by the treasurer. Then and now certificates by the treasurer issued over $3,000 must be authorized by the Board of Education. Superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the payments over $3,000 requiring a then and now certificate as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the then and now certificates? Chris?
Next fiscal item is vendor contract and compliance with ORC 3313.33. Attached is a vendor contract requiring board authorization. The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the vendor contract as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the vendor contracts. Questions or comments? Chris?
Next item is a general business item. It's a resolution by the school district board acknowledging the commission's design phase review comments. It's our early site package. Resolution by the school district board acknowledging the commission's design phase review comments for the early site package construction document design phase for the new Pleasant Run, Struble, and Taylor Elementary Schools. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution acknowledging the commission's design phase review comments for the early site package construction document design phase for the new Pleasant Run, Struble, and Taylor Elementary Schools.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I won't repeat all that, but does anybody have any questions? Chris?
Yes, I apologize to Amy and Chris for whatever I did to them. These are kind of wordy. Next one is business item also. Owner consult agreement for commissioning services related to the 3 new elementary schools and renovations. Whereas the owner solicited and interviewed 3 OFCC approved vendors to provide commissioning services and choose one, 4 Seasons Environmental. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the owner consultant agreement for commissioning services with 4 Seasons Environmental as attached.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a general business item also. Joint agreement between Hamilton County, the Board of Township Trustees of Colerain Township, and the Northwest Local School District Board of Education for the construction of various roadway improvements. Joint agreement between Hamilton County, the Board of Township Trustees of Colerain Township, and the Northwest Local School District Board of Education for the construction of various roadway improvements. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education accept a joint agreement between Hamilton County, the Board of Township Trustees of Colerain Township, and the Northwest Local School District Board of Education for construction of various roadway improvements. This is a joint agreement between the township and us, splitting the cost of changes needed for the Struble site, with it not to exceed $750,000. So we've split it right down the middle with them.
What about CMHA? Why didn't they kick any money in?
CMHA is locked in their funding sources, and when they checked and they presented at the last Colerain Township trustee, they have no extra money to present toward the project. As we've done more and more investigation, what's happening at Banning and Colerain is a county issue, and we are doing our best to get the county to step up and do what they're supposed to do. We have met with our attorneys. They have told us flat out what the responsibility is the county is. So even though this agreement gets us going where we need to go, we will continue to hound the county, because the road where Banning reaches Colerain is too far from the school for us to have too much payment going into. So it should, you'll find that there's another agreement between the county and Colerain Township that is trying to get that money paid for and extra funds there.
And if we weren't building that school, what would CMHA do with that project? Would it just not go?
Well, the whole problem, no, whether we build or we're not building, once they closed John Rose, that's the entire problem. Once they vacated John Rose and closed it, it
Right.
changed the traffic pattern on there. So if CMHA was by themselves, the township should have worked with them to do a traffic study, which they did not prior to going into agreement with them.
And
It
then
sounds
we
like they're
also-
getting off scot-free on this, not having to kick any money in, which is
Chris and
ridiculous.
Amy and I have fought that battle with them, many meetings, but the way the township allowed them to go into this agreement and to formulate the process of getting the federal money and the state monies that they need, their funding is locked.
Some of the need for the traffic is as a result of our school, because we are building, we're going to have more students there.
Yeah, it's a combination of both. Whether we build and they do nothing, or we do nothing and they build, you still had to make traffic accommodations. Just closing John Rose.
When do they start construction on their building, Tom?
I think they were, I don't know, maybe January, February, start laying out the footers.
At the same time.
See, by closing John Rose, they're going to move their building over and put it there. The one concession that CMHA has made, that we're waiting for final approval is there will be an exit. Instead of turning left out of Struble and going down John Rose to Memory, we'll be able to turn right, and then there will be a gated entrance that will allow our buses to go out on Banning that way. So we won't have car traffic and bus traffic turning left out of Struble going down to Memory Lane. So they have a board meeting, I think, December 2nd or 5th, and then they will let us know what the final approval of that was. But as Jeff Ritter for the Colerain Township said, this needs to be approved and better be approved. So if it all falls through, and the reason we went into agreement with this township is we want to work with the township, one, but two, we don't want to be the blame for the CMHA project falling through. What should have been done at the beginning was a traffic study by the township prior to closing John Rose. The county wasn't even aware that they were closing John Rose. So that's what's led to this. So we'll see how things go. Talk to Dan Malloy and Jeff Milch, who have been awesome to work with. And they are working with their attorneys to see what we can get the county to come up with. But either way, we're going to apply for grants as we go on the next year or two. We will try to get every bit of our money back as we move forward.
Did we have a motion yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I did the recommendation, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We don't have a motion.
Okay. We need a
I think
motion.
we did the comments and
So
questions
moved.
consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? I just want to go on record very disappointed in CMHA. It's very easy to say you can't find the money. You're planning a project, you should have that money set aside. Appreciate all the efforts of everybody in this district to move forward and make this positive, but CMHA is wrong all the way on this one. Anything else?
Pam, I agree with you. I mean, when we started this whole thing, it was going to be a three-way split with them being the
Absolutely.
smallest, but still, I think it was 100,000 or something.
It's going to be 200 each.
200,000 each, okay. And for them to just say they can't find the money or they don't have it, that's a very easy way to get out.
When you're doing your budget and you're planning on building a new building and you're wanting a road closed, that should be part of your budget. Just like we have worked very hard with the budgets for our 3 new schools, and we're doing what we have to do to stay within that budget. For them to just drop it on our school district is ridiculous. But, you know, they know they're going to get bailed out. But again, I appreciate the efforts that we're trying to do, and we'll actively go after grants, but
And we're not done. We're still going after the
it's
county.
just ridiculous. Okay, we'll call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a certificated licensed personnel item. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the certificated licensed personnel items. Any questions? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a classified personnel item. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the classified personnel items. Are there any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is student services, Colerain High School extended field trip request. Colerain High School wrestling team will attend the Marion Harding Varsity Wrestling Tournament in Marion, Ohio over the winter break. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the Colerain High School field trip request item as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the field trip. Any questions or comments? Chris?
One comment.
I'm sorry.
Certainly wish them the best of luck in their wrestling tournament.
You will be receiving another request at the December 12th meeting for the swim team also for Colerain High School. So
Awesome.
they go the 16th and 17th.
Okay, motion passes 5-0, and I second that. Good luck to all of them at the meet.
All right, I have the superintendent's report tonight. I wanted to discuss 2 things, basically. We had a situation at one of our high schools where we had to terminate an employee because of an arrest that occurred. So I wanted to assure everyone that we do the proper background checks before they get to us. So I wanted to go through our applicant hiring process. Stephanie Kessling was going to do it tonight. She's very ill with pneumonia, so she could not be here. So the first thing to do is applicants apply online at ohioteaching.org. After they fill out an application, they participate in an interview, being recommended for the position by the building principal. Prospective employees are given a statement of a job applicant regarding criminal record. It's a statement of job applicant regarding criminal record. It has a list of about 30 things here that they must circle or highlight if they've been convicted of, and then some follow-up questions on the back page. At that point, if they are offered and they turn this in and there's nothing circled that keeps them from doing it, and again, law does not allow us to ask up front of an interview, have you been convicted of this, this, and this? It's after we offer them the position, then we go through the background check. So we're just following what our legal services provide for us. So during the hiring process, the employees complete a background check that involves fingerprinting. If the employee has declared an offense that does not disqualify them, we will allow them to work. So there are some offenses. You might have 3 speeding tickets, something going on. When you were younger, it does not apply. We always check with our legal attorneys and get their approval. But if they have a conviction that has not been declared, then we ask for a resignation. So we give them a chance up front to admit to whatever they have. And surprisingly, when the report comes back, there's things that they did not tell us. Well, that's a red flag for us and something that we don't want employees working for if they can't be upfront and honest to begin with. The individual that we had to terminate, nothing came back on her report. She was fingerprinted. Everything was taken care of. So we have followed every guideline we should in order to make sure this employee was capable of working with our students. But we do have something in place, but every now and then something sneaks through that you cannot. But prior to them working in our district, they must go through all these background checks. And HR does a very good, extensive job in making sure they are what they are. We also call references, building principals, as these two can attest, are required to do 3 and give them to Stephanie when they send it back over. Second thing I want to talk about was Capitol Conference last week. We had over 300 superintendents and board members who went to the front steps of the Capitol building, calling for an increased involvement in policy decisions and a pause on the new graduation requirements that could result in thousands of students not receiving their diplomas next school year. Currently, the class of 2018, statewide, about 40% are not going to be able to achieve the 18 points they need in order to graduate. At the same time, the State Board of Education debated the 7 end-of-course exams that students must take and reach certain scores to graduate for the beginning class of 2018. Although the state board members are largely supportive of easing the score requirements, with plans to increase them gradually over the next few years, a vote on the issue isn't expected until probably January or February. They want to see more data. We've now given the retake. Our data from last year shows the retake did no good to help the students pass. So they're not thinking it's going to make that big a difference. So right now it takes 18 points. We're assuming it'll fall somewhere around 14, 15. Next year bump it up 15, 16. Next year 16, 17. It all goes back to, we talked about this, but we are over testing students. And that was the big message we had up there. It's to the point of ridiculous how many tests these kids have to take. And if you look at Ohio's system for testing and education, our new superintendent will tell you we just follow what the federal guidelines are. Well, we are actually above what the federal guidelines require. But on the other page, Ohio is going out and getting awards and accolades for their testing system and how they're doing things. So they're kind of like, well, if we're getting all these awards, how is it that bad? The bottom line is they're over testing. Our kids are struggling. And so we are asking for them to reduce the amount of testing we have. The other thing we need is we need a consistent test. So you look at these elementary schools, they've gone through OAT, Ohio Achievement Test, PARCC test, and now the AIR test. So we don't have 3 common years of data. We have all this data, but it's no good because it's not data that is the test they're getting assessed on. I can tell you my principals can do anything if they get common data that is consistent year to year. You already saw on their presentation up here, they've already gone and identified the kids that need to move up a step. They know what their exact scores are, but it's through our MAP testing. It's additional testing we have to do because we don't have anything consistent from the state. So if we get data that is consistent, if we can keep the same test for more than 1 year, it would be a miracle. The end of course exams are just one way to pass. You need a minimum of 18 points. Other new pathways to graduation include earning an industry credential and a work readiness score on work keys, or earning remediation-free score on ACT and SAT. I know Butler Tech deals with the work keys, but I've heard they're pretty difficult and almost to the point of impossible to pass. So it's just one of those that it's really not fair for kids. So we talked about the new graduation requirements aren't fair and equitable. Can we please keep the same test over a 3 to 5 year period? Less testing, and please listen to us before legislatures pass bills. They're not doing the grassroots comments. They went out and did all these hearings. It was amazing at our superintendent meeting, Bassett, back in October. They went out and they did these small meetings all over the city. I think one was down in Madeira, and they had some other places. And all he heard was, everybody's okay with the amount of testing we have. Can we just make it consistent, keep it the same as what he told us sitting at the table? And he said, with our awards and our accolades that we're getting, why would we look at changing this for this year? Maybe the next year, but that's the way it was presented to us when we heard it. So they are listening, Peggy Lehner especially, and some of the other legislators. But what we've decided after doing this, we were afraid to do this, because it's not whining. We want accountability, but we want consistent accountability. Something that is year to year, something we can rely on to stay the norm. So we can take these end of the course results we've got right now, take the data. You can't even get data and analysis from it. We're still waiting on certain parts to come back. But once we get the item analysis, we get all our data, plus our own in-house, we can lay a pathway for these kids where they can pass this test. Now it goes back to that old thing, well, are you teaching only to the test? Well, no, we don't want to. We can do that through end of the course projects and some other things. But we need parents to write legislators. We are, board members are. I'm going to put something on our front web page of our site where parents can write letters. We'll give example letters, so on and so forth. But we've got to do more to get Columbus to start listening, because what happens is ODE is saying, when we met with them, because I'm on the state report card committee, they pointed the finger back to the legislators and said, you need to talk to them. We go to see them, and they invite them all down to Hamilton County ESC, and they're like, you need to talk to the Ohio Department of Education. We've told them to look into it. So we just need somebody to answer and help us out. And Michael, you're probably aware of more of this than I am. You've participated in these meetings.
I mean, you're certainly up to speed after that Capitol conference. And I would just like to add that I was our voting member. I was going to say this for my board member comments, but I was our voting member representing the board at the Ohio School Board Association conference, and the platform that was adopted by the Ohio School Board Association delegates did call for reduction in testing, and also called for consistent testing and receiving them in a timely manner, which is another issue as well. Receiving the data in a timely manner doesn't do you any good. I'm a sports fan. I always try to liken things back to how, we know how our teams do on the field. We even know, thanks to the computer system that OHSAA has come up with, we don't even know how tough their schedule is relative to other teams. We know all this. It's consistent data that we get year after year after year. They don't change the rules in the middle of the football season. Okay, we kind of know what we need, and it's very important to get to that. And we also know, you walk off the field, you know how you did. I don't think we'll ever get to a testing system that provides that quick of feedback, but 6 months is a bit ridiculous.
The last thing I want to talk about in December, we're going to bring to you a proposal, Daryl and Curriculum Department will, about changing our grading scale. We're currently 93 to 100. We're 69 and below is an F. Go back to the old scale after checking what other surrounding districts are doing in a GMC and a SWAC. 90 to 100, 80 to 89, 70 to 79, 59 and below would be an F. So when they go to college, they're taking the weighted GPAs off, and they're just going to a basic GPA. ACT score is what the bottom line comes down to for money for college. So we are going to go back to a system that's similar, and I believe the same grading scale that Butler Tech has. So just get it all together and all the same. I was here when we switched it the first time. We were worried about a large amount of failures. It all works out. Kids know what they have to do. Teachers know what they have to do. The interesting conversation will be, what is the power of a 0? And so what do we make that low score you put in a book? So if a kid gets an 80 on a test, a 0 on the next one, it's almost impossible to recover that and pass. So you've got this senior who might have failed first quarter with a 20%. Well, they know there's no way to get a passing score for the next 3. So you don't want to set them up for failure. You want to work with them. You want to keep them motivated. But Daryl and Jenny, or one or the other, will do the presentation in December so we can get that ahead in the 6 months notification and get everything changed. Lastly, thank John Graff and Abby for having us tonight. Jimmy did a great job hiring John. It's been a blessing to have him. I've worked with 3 other Butler techs, and John is awesome. And he's working with Daryl and I. We really appreciate everything he's done. And Abby, our kids love it up here, and they speak highly of you. So.
Okay, thanks, Todd. We will go to community communications. Does anyone out there have any questions or comments about anything that was discussed at the meeting? Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark Strong. 2 questions, if I could. First, on what you just mentioned about the legislative updates, I didn't know if the November elections had any effect on our state legislature or state school board, positive, negative, any change at all?
We had one, I got a notification that one that was on our side for less testing, and that resigned today for some reason.
Oh, yes.
So he'll be
AJ
replaced. I
Wagner,
think
yes.
6 changed hands on the state board.
There were a number of State Board of Ed changes. As far as the makeup of the board, I don't think it was substantially weighted one way or the other. Just kind of going down the list. And the resignation of the board member from Dayton was certainly one of the leading advocates in favor of reducing testing. That seat will probably remain vacant for at least a few months. And the rest of the board, as I said, some members were term limited. Other districts are the same. They haven't been redrawn since they were put in place 4 years ago. So it was a lot of like being replaced with like in terms of ideology. And one person near Cleveland was defeated, and I've heard mixed things about that, about the person who beat them. So I wouldn't really be able to say how that person's going to go one way or the other, but nonetheless, it was not a substantial makeup. And in the House and Senate, other than term limits, there wasn't really a change. I think the Republicans picked up 1 seat in the House and 1 seat in the Senate, and the Senate seat was picked up, the incumbent who was defeated in that Senate seat was, I don't believe he was really involved in on education issues. Not to say he didn't care, but it's just not a committee. It's just not something that I heard him weigh in on a lot. And then the other seat in the House that changed hands, there was a legislator who was term limited, and she was one of the leading people in the House on less testing, and she was replaced by a person who I don't think has really weighted much on it one way or the other.
My second question was about the road project. Did I understand right? You expected to pay about $200,000 was in our budget to do that?
We knew the total cost of the project was $600,000. So when we looked, here's the disappointing part. Everything we read, the research that our lawyers have talked about, is when you measure the length from exiting Struble, down John Rose, up Memory, Banning and Colerain, if you just do a regular traffic survey, it shows it's overflowing right now. The county is almost like holding us hostage. They're trying to force a public entity to take over their responsibility because their hand's in somebody else's pocket and they're wanting to save their money, and they'll tell you you're short on money. So when we originally went after it, we asked for $200,000 from the township, $200,000 from CMHA, and $200,000 for us. We'd budgeted $600,000. But we're going to be real tight with that. We're going to fight with that because anything we have to spend on road improvements take away from our kids. And Chris and Amy and I get very upset over that. So CMHA has come to the table several times. Their funding is a weird system. Their funding comes from grants and outside agencies and federal and Ohio agencies that kind of collaborate and put the money together. Now, Rich McVeigh, who is on our committee, has addressed the township about this. He's also addressed us about it. He has done the research, done a request for records and everything else. And his question to them was, if the district builds something and all of a sudden something changes or we need something changed, a change order comes in front of us. So do you not have the luxury of a change order or figuring out that there's additional cost because of this? Well, I really think it all goes back to, and Chris and Amy, speak up if you want to, when they closed John Rose and did not seek county permission to do that, that's what started all this. That should have been the first thing that was done, and it was not. And so here we are.
So worst case scenario is up to
350.
350.
Yep, because we're splitting it with Corning Township, or 375, because the 750 is the max. And so the township approved this last Tuesday, and their next letter goes to the board, or county, Hamilton County, saying 750 is where we're capped out at after that. So we don't know if it's going to go through or not. What I didn't want to occur on behalf of the board is we didn't want to be the ones who were causing the CMHA project to fall through. So the township has worked very hard with us to split these costs. Their board approved it 2-1. I believe Mr. Inskeep did not vote for it, but the other two did. Or Inskeep, not Inskeep. I apologize for the name wrong.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Board member comments. Chris?
Just wanted to thank Abby and the folks who coordinated this visit and this board meeting up here tonight. One thing I find kind of like modern home construction, how open it is. Very nice and very impressed. Thank you.
Michael, anything else?
I'd just like to echo what Chris said about thanking Butler Tech for hosting us here tonight, and also thanking the district staff for getting everything ready for us, so we could meet here tonight. I got to tour this one when it was first opened. I was not at the ribbon cutting, but was able to come up here on the public tour. It was very impressive. It's definitely serving our students well in terms of giving them the skills they need to succeed in college or career, and also just seeing the growth and making opportunities available for the fields that are growing. For too long, I think education and industry were kind of out of sync in terms of what we were offering and what they needed. And so now just seeing projects like this really shows how we're really coming together to serve everybody well. I'd like to reiterate, I was our voting delegate at the Ohio School Board Association Capital Conference, and testing was certainly one of the hot topics. Platform, I don't have it in front of me, but it does call for a consistent, reliable, fair testing system that does not overburden our students and provides timely feedback. I'll harp on that timely feedback part until I'm blue in the face, until my grandchildren are taking these tests, I guess. But anyway, that's pretty much my report. Thank you.
Bob?
I'd like to thank Butler Tech also for the great work that you do with our students, and definitely a great building, and programs are awesome. So keep up the good work. I'd like to thank Butler Tech for this nice silk tie I got. Came back with my nephew when several years ago. He was with the Butler Tech trip that went to China, and he brought this back for helping me fundraise for him. And I'd like to thank the administration and the PTA for a great presentation tonight, and thank you for everything that you do for our students.
Jim?
I just want to kind of echo what everybody says, to thank John and Abby, and great presentation and showing us around. And maybe we can get that phase 2 going here on this building maybe tomorrow night. Maybe we'll talk about it in our board meeting. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to come up or not. But I just want to thank everybody.
Well, first of all, it's pretty cool. I know Jim and I got to be here for the groundbreaking. And then we drive by all the time, and this building is gorgeous from the outside. So to be able to get in here and really see everything, Abby, you did a great job showing us around, so thank you very much. I think this is important that we do this, because in our roles, we can go back and talk to parents and stuff about the opportunities, that Butler Tech offers, and to be able to see it firsthand, it certainly makes it easier to explain everything. Couple other things. I know some of us attended the Ohio School Board Conference last week, and it was very nice. Butler Tech, it was nice to see Dave Campbell up there and representing Butler Tech. I believe we had Butler Tech had 2 programs in the Student Achievement Fair, and I know we have students in both of those programs. So it's awesome to walk around in the Student Achievement Fair and see all the different things that go on throughout the state, and for Butler Tech to have 2 programs there showcased was great. Couple other things. It was also neat with the trade show, because with us being where we are right now with building, it was pretty cool to be able to go up to SHP and guess guess whose buildings they were showcasing, you know, in their area. We all got to wear these really cool glasses and these goggles and put them on, and it was like we were walking through the whole building. That was really cool. I think it was at Moats, also showcased Northwest's high school football field, and then also to see Skanska and what they were showing too. So you know, it's been a long time coming, but it was pretty neat to finally, instead of walking around that trade show and wishing maybe someday this will happen, to actually seeing the schematics and stuff being showcased, and it's going to be ours. So it's going to definitely benefit all of our kids and the community. So very excited about that. The other thing, it seems forever ago, but Election Day, we had some pretty cool things going on. We had groundbreaking in 3 elementary buildings, and I haven't publicly been able to say, Chris, you did an awesome job, Pauletta, whoever else was a part of that, to go to each one of the sites and see so many of our students, to see our staff there, the hard hats for the kids, the little shovels, the little toys. The excitement was just amazing from each site. You know, we started at Pleasant Run, went to Taylor, and then to Struble. So it was an awesome, awesome day. It seems like it was forever ago, but we haven't had a board meeting since then. So just wanted to thank you and everybody else that worked on it, because I'm telling you what, that's been one of the highlights since I've been around. I'll say that for sure. And then just on a personal note, we have a grandson that'll be attending Montfort Heights. Of course, he's only 14 months now, but I can't wait, all the different clubs. I'm just sitting here thinking, wonder which ones he'll want to do. So again, thank you, all of you, for coming and driving out this far to attend the meeting. But I hope we can do maybe meetings at some of the other sites of Butler Tech too. So with that, I will ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
I thought you guys all wanted to stay. Okay, it's been moved to second. Any questions or comments? Chris? Motion passes 5-0. Meeting adjourned. Everybody drive home safely.